Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Oliver Hayes. I'm joined by Harrison Simeon, and we are here for the third episode of the SportsCast. Harrison, do you want to tell them what we're talking about today?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious again, right? I mean, Colorado and Colorado State had an absolute classic at Folsom Field under the lights this past Saturday. And, you know, we were there for every moment of it, almost 4.5 hour game. You know, College Game Day was there. Big Noon was there. The Rock was in our locker room. Lil Wayne led us onto the field. Offset was on, chopping it up with Coach Prime, and I was on the ESPN broadcast. It set the record for the most streamed game I saw today. Streamed college football game in either ESPN history or just in history.
I forget exactly what it was. I think it was for the late primetime game on ESPN. I think it was I think it was the most watched for that time slot. I forget if there were more specifics, but either way, just having that is huge.
Well, it says most. So it's ESPN's fifth most watched game on record.
Okay.
So in terms of just pure ratings, it was fifth best ever.
Just across all sports.
Or just college football.
College football. Okay. But still, college football. It shattered the late prime time. So, like, this game started at 8 o'clock, ended at nearly 2:30 a.m. on the East Coast. But it shattered the previous record for that. And it was the most streamed regular season game ever. So, like, YouTube TV, stuff like that. Yeah.
That counts as streaming. It was the most ever. And it peaked at 11.1 million viewers.
Yeah, that's so insane. I mean, we're both sophomores at CU, and I don't know, just having this be a reality is insane. I mean, especially after seeing last year.
Right. Well, all we've been here for was the lowest lows, and now it seems like the highest highs with a 3-0 start. Obviously, big double overtime win, and just to be a part of this and to be with Sports Media Club, Scobo Sports, like, to be able to cover it like we did was unreal. Do you want to tell us a little bit how we covered it?
Yeah. We had a ton of members. I'm trying to think, how many members do we have from Scobo Sports specifically? Was it 6 plus our radio guys? So was it 8, I think, in total?
So,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we of course had Milena there.
Milena was in the radio.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, 8 members for ScoBuffs. Like, that's crazy. And so we did a lot. We of course have the social media that you guys see all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably our most prevalent form of media and what gets seen the most from us.
Shout out to Patrick who ran it during the game. Did a great job. Got in the press conference and was able to ask Coach Prime a question.
Yeah. No, I mean, he asked like the 5th question to Coach Prime. To do that as a freshman and literally his first game at Folsom Field is insane. So shout out to Patrick. He was in the press box with me, so he was running socials. I was writing an article. So that's what me and Patrick are up to.
Yeah.
If you want to talk more about the radio side of things.
So I was with the radio side, and I did play-by-play for the entire game. I had never called a college football game in my life. The only play-by-play I've ever done was starting this year. Never did in high school. Or last year, freshman year, I did a little bit of lacrosse and a little bit of club baseball. So only club sports. Some club lacrosse, club baseball, and club soccer recently this year. And the fact that I was able to do that was insane. The view I had of the game and everything that happened was just like stuff you dream of.
Yeah.
And I think not to plug our club much, but the fact that we're able to do that just as a student, you join for free, you can get a credential to stuff like that happening currently is just unbelievable to me.
Yeah. No, it is insane, but I don't know. I want viewers to take that with a grain of salt if you do attend CU, because Patrick only got this opportunity because he worked his butt off. Like, Patrick is one of our hardest working freshmen to join the club. And so, like, that's what you got to put in to get these opportunities. So yeah, no, I mean, it's a really great opportunity for those that want to put in the work. So yeah, I know we don't want to plug, but this is our podcast, so I guess we can do what we want.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if you're listening to this and you are interested in a CU student, you should join our club. But moving forward, one thing before I talk about like going into the game, just like with how crazy the environment was. So like, I don't know, get there at 5 o'clock. I'm down on the field pregame for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Get to see all the warm-ups. Get to see Travis going crazy, hyping up the crowd. Of course, saw the pregame scuffle. Like, that's just insane being down there on the field. Then you're in the press box watching the whole game. Saw some amazing things. I only recorded like 3 plays from that whole game. One of them was Shiloh Sanders' pick 6. That's absolutely insane to like just have like recorded. That was insane. And then for anybody who's not a media member, so most of our audience probably, if you don't know, the media from the press box only has, once it hits 4 minutes in the fourth quarter, then the media members head down to the field to get to the press conference after the game. And so after CSU's last drive in regulation, during that punt down to the 2-yard line, that's when me and Patrick headed down to the field. And so for that 98-yard drive to tie the game and then all of overtime facing the north direction, me and Patrick were standing 5 feet behind the back of the end zone. And like Michael Harrison and Xavier Weaver caught both their 2-point conversions right in front of my eyes. Like if you were watching ESPN, like there were so many people down there that it's hard to tell like who's me, but like as Michael Harrison celebrating, like you can see my face, you can see me holding my phone. Like it is absolutely insane. If you check my Twitter, please follow me, OCU Hayes. Just insane amounts of plugging. But yeah, no, I mean it was just absolutely insane. Like we're not even talking about the game yet. Like just the experience itself was just so crazy.
Because it was such an experience, even from the first quarter. The fact that it started with, an 80-yard pick 6, then a wide receiver throwing a touchdown, then a fumble return that we couldn't even tell, at least from my view of it, that it was a fumble return for a touchdown. Then we went right back down and scored and tied it. And that was just the first quarter in a double overtime game.
And before even we scored, we have the biggest moment of that game. Even though all that crazy stuff happened, we have the biggest moment in Henry Blackburn coming over top and laying what CU fans and many fans across the nation say a dirty hit. Of course, you ask. Some people don't believe it's a dirty hit. I mean, we can look at Deion's quote from earlier in today. He had his press conference. I forget exactly what he said, but basically he just said, it was a hard hit. It was a big hit. Some people consider it dirty, some people consider it not, but that's the game of football. And we as a program, myself, Travis, everybody, we all forgive Blackburn and move on. So
yeah, and we'll get into the specifics of what exactly happened and what's happened since then a little bit later on. When we kind of talk about what CSU did, because I think more than anything, this was a game where they had nothing to lose. This was a game where everyone was against them. All the college game day, they weren't out there to see Colorado versus Colorado State. They were there to see Coach Prime in Colorado. The Rock was there, and he was in the locker room for us. Like it wasn't like some giant, Alabama, Georgia, where there celebrities there for both sides, or it's an even crowd or anything like that.
Yeah,
this was a game that Colorado had to win because it was on the biggest stage possible, at least in the regular season.
Well, I don't know. You look at everything that led up to it. Of course, you look at Jay Norvell's comments that brought a lot of publicity. As everyone is now because everyone expected CU to win. Everyone expected Colorado to win. But then once Norvell said that, now everyone's like, oh, well, now they have a target on their back. CU's obviously going to win. And, Jared talked about this in the preview before the game. But, he's like, it may have been a good move. Now you're bringing some attention. You're kind of firing everyone up, just mucking things up. And that was CSU's game plan for the whole entire game, as we saw. But before we go into more into that, it was like you said, it was so insane how it was just so lopsided for Colorado. I mean, that was probably the worst opponent showing I've seen at Folsom Field, and I've only been here a year, only have gone to 2 games so far this year, but that Colorado State fan showing was abysmal. There was a small tiny section in the bottom left of the opponent's side, and that was it. That was the only green I remember.
But the last thing you would have expected with that little fan show, those little fans showing out, is for them to be vocal during large stretches of this game. What you heard, from at least from my perspective, were the Colorado State fans. The Colorado fans were silent because I don't want to call you out, but you said Colorado State had no chance to win. And for a while,
after their showing in week 1, how did no one across the nation saw this coming?
I'm not blaming you. I predicted 41-17. I said it would be close in the first half, and then Colorado would just pull away, sort of like the Nebraska game, but at least to a greater extent in terms of how our offense would look. But the offense still had some struggles early on, and it really translated. They had some big mistakes. Obviously, I don't know if it was a big mistake because it wasn't a horrible ball, but Shedeur threw his first pick of the year, and a ball that was kind of snatched out of Jimmy Horn's hands as he was falling to the ground. Obviously, there was the Travis Hunter fumble, as I mentioned earlier, that was returned for a touchdown. And the offense looked a little bit out of sync and was being outgained by Colorado State's passing attack, which really looked like to be, something we didn't really expect going into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost about the unexpectedness of CSU's offense. Well, first of all, we only saw 1 week of CSU, and we only saw 2.5 quarters, almost 3 quarters of Clay Millen before he got injured. Right. So we only saw 1 quarter of garbage time Braden Fowler-Nicolosi. And this man came out and balled.
He balled out.
There were a number of throws where he was on the run, and it was right on the money, right in between the numbers.
Yeah.
Or right into the receiver's hands. He played a phenomenal game. And so I think not having, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good.
Not having that not being able to see how good of a player Fowler-Nicolosi showed he is. I think, I don't know, almost had a reverse effect from the TCU game. Just didn't know what CSU was going to bring, and obviously Colorado was caught off guard by that.
Right, and I think the biggest part of that, of that passing game, wasn't just Nicolosi, because it wasn't like he was throwing the ball over the top every time or just, avoiding a bunch of sacks and making a bunch of plays you don't see, like making plays that we see better than like Shedeur, or like in the tier of like a quarterback that we are used to seeing in a Power 5 conference. It was a lot to do with the receivers, because it was Justice Ross Simmons was the leading receiver coming into this game. He only had 3 catches for 24 yards. There were only 4 players on CSU that had a catch the entire game.
Yeah.
But 3 of those 4 had over 100 yards. It was Horton was the one that made the biggest impact. Yeah. Obviously had a touchdown throw as well as 16 catches for 133 yards. A senior, 4-year starter, Torrey Horton, balled out. And it was, because it was a lot of throws that were underneath that I think the Colorado defensive scheme wasn't really ready for. It was a lot of, drag route. People could notice it watching the game, what they were trying to do, and they were just doing it over and over again because it worked.
Yeah.
It was Lewis Brown IV. He had a touchdown. That was big. He looked really good as well, averaged 13 yards a catch. The tight end, what is his name?
Dallin
Holker.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdown catches, 6 catches for 109. And that offense just, a lot of times when the lights are bright, you have the whole day waiting for the game. It's your first primetime game together as a team. A lot of times you get anxious, you get tight, and, that team that has nothing to lose is going to come out and play. Like the Colorado State overall, even with, I guess, counting overtime, they outgained us. They had 499 total yards. We had 418.
Yeah.
Fowler-Nicolosi had more passing yards than Shedeur. I mean, I wouldn't say overall because of the late comeback that he had a better game than Shedeur.
Yeah, and also the number of
the interceptions.
Yeah, the interceptions.
There were the 3 interceptions. One of them I don't really blame him for. It was the last play of the game. He just kind of had to throw it up.
Yeah, you have to throw that one.
And also the play design wasn't great. It was just like 4 guys go to the end zone, throw it up.
But I mean, what play design are you gonna have for,
right.
For that situation?
I guess.
I forget how many yards out they were.
It was 4th and 23.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously, yeah, the receivers played well. Those drag routes killed Colorado. And like you said, yeah, their offense was clicking on pretty much all cylinders outside of those turnovers. But let's talk about. I want to talk about the Colorado State defense a little bit because when we look
that's kind of what I don't know if all their defense. The defense was the majority of the penalties. Yeah. But the penalties were the story.
Yeah. I mean, 17 penalties for 187 yards. That's unacceptable for any team. It's so unacceptable that it,
it's pretty much unheard of.
I need to look up most penalty yards in, college game.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a very chippy game. It was the Rocky Mountain Showdown, absolutely a rivalry to a T. If we thought that the Nebraska game had a lot of infighting and, extra oomph to some of the hits, I mean, this game had all of that and more. Obviously, there was a targeting during the overtime that got, I believe it was Muhammad Kamara, the best edge rusher for CSU, ejected. There were obviously the Travis Hunter hit that sent him to the hospital. A lot of other, just kind of scuffles, even from before the game that we saw while on the field before then.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that I need to stop saying obvious. Because anyways, I need to stop saying obvious because why would anybody listen to it if it was obvious? But right. Anyways, in the pregame, the thing that seemed to start the scuffle is I forget where the pass was intended.
I think it was to Travis.
But yeah, there was a Colorado pass and a CSU player just
batted it down.
Yeah, batted away. And so that was the beginning. And so that's a lot more direct than how Matt Rule and Nebraska had their scuffle with Colorado last game. So from the very beginning that this was, I mean, even from Jay Norvell's comments, you knew that they were a lot more direct. From the pregame comments, is a lot more direct. And from the second that game started, you knew what CSU's game plan was because you knew that they were trying to rattle the Buffs, trying to get them to commit stupid penalties. It looked like they were trying to get guys out of their zone, out of their element, out of sync. And that even happened, when you look at Shadora's attempted eye poke that people are freaking out about. Everyone's talking about Shadora's eye poke, but if you look at that video, Kamara already has his hand on Shadora's face mask. And so not saying that what Shadora did was right. Obviously, going for a guy's eyes is crazy. I mean, it's wild. But on the other hand, Kamara forced that by having his hands on Shador, getting them out of their element, and that was obviously their game plan going forward. I mean, of course, you look at Blackburn's hit on Travis, and everyone, talks about, their intent to injure, intent to do this, intent to do that. I don't think that was necessarily Blackburn's hope. At least I hope not.
I think the intent maybe wasn't to hurt him because he wasn't going for his head. It wasn't like he was trying to knock him out, go completely but I think he was just trying to send a message. Yeah. And obviously the message was sent in a way that maybe he didn't intend for. Obviously all the death threats after went very overboard with all that. Yeah. But it was a really, really bad hit because if you look at the play itself, the ball had hit the ground. He had no chance of catching it. There was pass interference on that play as well, which added 15 more yards to the penalty.
And that just adds to the egregiousness of the hit because Travis he's not only is he defenseless looking at the ball, but he's getting interfered with. He doesn't even have really necessarily
he doesn't have
full
a chance
control
to get
of his
the ball.
Whole body. Yeah, he doesn't have
his arms are being pinned down.
Yeah,
he doesn't have
even brace.
chance.
He wasn't able to brace for the hit, not only because he's looking at the ball, but like you said, he's getting held, and so that just added on to how much worse the hit was.
Yeah, and he got folded, and obviously we had the update that it's a lacerated liver, which I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah, I mean, I've
never heard of an injury happening like that before.
Yeah, I didn't want to speculate. Well, I don't know. I think of Drew Bledsoe being a Patriots fan because I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. I forget exactly what his injury was, but I'm pretty sure it was internal bleeding on that hit that took him out of the game and then started the legend of Tom Brady. But anyways,
it was something with his ribs. I'm pretty sure
that was let me see. I don't want to be wrong on this.
Yeah, it's okay.
So 2 ribs to remove the blood from his chest cavity. Okay. Well, so I guess he was bleeding in his chest. So yeah, he had an internal bleeding. Anyways, I kind of had figured.
It's a scary injury though.
Yeah, no, it is, especially because it's something that you couldn't see. I mean, Travis came in and played the rest of that quarter and the rest of that half,
and he ended up saying on his like little Bleacher Report show. Obviously, he's doing much better now. We're grateful for that. That he would have kept playing if the doctors didn't take him out.
Yeah. And so, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to speculate, like, during the game. I don't want to be, like, the person that's like, oh, yeah, I called it. But, I mean, in the way that Travis received that hit, he didn't get hit in the head based on the replays. And he wasn't holding, like, any of it, like, his arm, his legs. Like, he was just holding his body. So at first, people thought he was, like, shaken up. But when he was out of the game and they said he was transported to a hospital, that's immediately, like, what sent red flags off in my head, where I was like, This isn't just a regular like broken bone, like this isn't broken ribs, like this has to be something like they brought this man to the hospital, like this has to be something crazy like that, and for him to react in the way that he did, I kind of just assumed internal bleeding. And
that made the flow of this game, like we were already down at halftime. We did not expect to be down at halftime. We expected maybe the game to be already out of reach at halftime. But it was 21-14 Colorado State. They came to play. They absolutely did, and their defense looked pretty good in the first half, first 3 quarters or so. Obviously, there were some missed opportunities for CU on offense. We got really close and then ended up taking a field goal from about the 2-yard line. Alejandro Mata came in for Jace Feely after a missed field goal, so that's another missed opportunity. But again, I think what kept us in it was maybe, again, the other team kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Obviously, Colorado State, that's their Super Bowl. This kind of game is such a big deal to them that, and, the crowd is rocking. This is maybe the loudest crowd some of these players have heard in their whole lives. You're going to mess up. Little false starts here and there. I get it. But with all the personal fouls, I don't want to make any accusations, but some of it, I wouldn't say it's premeditated, but like, maybe part of the strategy for CSU was, go out there, make sure they can't do anything easy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I want to say that like it was Norvell's intent to play that way, but like I feel like there's no way that you can watch the game and not say that at least that there was some intent behind the way that they played. Because like obviously like yeah, it's accusing a coach of being like, oh yeah, going out to hurt players, going out to make dirty plays is that's ridiculous. That's going beyond.
Right. But I have seen like Richard Sherman was on Undisputed and like questioning if a bounty or something was put on Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Now that's not what we're saying, but this is like something it was so bad that people have started to wonder.
And even before the game, I can't remember exactly who it was, but I had seen some tweets from some Colorado Buffaloes media talking about Henry Blackburn specifically because he's had a past of these type of personal fouls.
Right. There were 8 personal fouls total or I don't know if it was 8 or 9, but
yeah, it was something like that. Either way, that's an
insane.
insane amount of personal fouls. And so like just watching that game, like yeah, you don't want to accuse like a coach, you don't want to accuse a team, but I mean, it was their game plan was just about roughing up this game and trying to get Colorado out of their element. And they were able to do that in a lot of parts. And I think even though Colorado was able to make big plays, even though they were able to step up and win this game, like, I don't know. It's CSU definitely succeeded with their game plan and trying to get everyone off their game.
They did everything they could for at least until there was about 7 minutes left. Yeah. And when it really mattered, Colorado was able to step up. Some of the coaching decisions by CSU, especially in that 98-yard drive, just kind of playing prevent defense really soft, allowed those holes to open up. Not Travis Hunter, but without Travis
Weaver,
Hunter even.
Jimmy Horn.
Weaver made a play down the field.
I think he had 2 catches on that drive, and then
Michael Harrison.
Yeah, Michael Harrison, I think he had a catch, and then Horn obviously had that touchdown.
Yeah, Harrison had a big one because Shedeur was still in his own end zone, made a jumping throw kind of across his body, and Harrison was able to get to it. But Michael Harrison stepped in a big way. He didn't even start for the first 5 offensive sequences. They came out in 10 personnel.
Before we get into that though, I want to keep talking about that Colorado State defense on that last drive in overtime because that Colorado State D line came to play. They had 4 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. On that interception that Shedeur threw, no one really talked about it, but he got murdered as he threw that ball. He got absolutely he got hit very hard. So I mean, that D line was was coming into the backfield hard, trying to make some plays, and they did make some plays. And so that's why I also thought it was interesting that CSU kind of switched up their defense for that last drive, because it kind of reminds me of like a basketball team that has their offense flowing. They get up by like 10, 15 points, and now they're like, all right, let's chill. Let's run the clock. And now because you're out of your offense, you're not scoring while the other team is scoring.
Right.
But you're changing the game plan too early, and I felt that threw off CSU on that last drive.
Just the fact that we had 2 minutes left, we drove down with just like over a minute and 98 yards. That just shows how resilient that offense can be. The fact that we're all the way backed up against our own goal line, and then just make boom, boom, boom. We're about to tie the game, obviously, with the 2-point conversion as well. But that almost reminds me of like the Bills game, like the 13 seconds against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You can just never. I don't know why defensive coordinators do it everywhere. They just play that prevent defense. Don't try to really get to the quarterback. Try to rush the throw, make the throw to be maybe either a check down or something dumb. Not to send any pressure at all and just let the quarterback do his thing. Obviously, our O-line had been struggling. We're without our starting center, Van Wells, for a good portion of this game. Or the whole game we were without Van Wells, but for the good portion we were struggling. And I think the fact that they just sat back, let the secondary do their thing, maybe underestimating our receiving core a little bit without the attention, the center of attention that coming into the game, that was Travis Hunter. Yeah. I think that was huge. And Shedeur, as he said after, he went Brady mode, and he really rallied the troops at the last possible moment. And in overtime, we kind of just had that feeling the momentum was on our side.
Yeah, no, it was really special, like being down on that field, because you could definitely feel like the energy radiating from that Colorado squad and that Colorado sideline. Because even like, you're watching that last drive, you see Jimmy Horn score, that Michael Harrison needs to get that 2-point conversion. And like, me myself, I'm nervous, like just being there, like, 5 feet from the back of the end zone. The biggest play of Colorado's season so far is happening right in front of you, and these dudes just execute it perfectly and get that 2-point conversion. And you look at them scoring an OT, getting the second 2-point conversion, Xavier Weaver, and that really stood out to me because there was a drive at the end of the third quarter that resulted in a Mata field goal, and Colorado had first and goal on the CSU 4. Mm-hmm. And they had three plays where they weren't able to get into the end zone.
Yeah, I think it was something I noticed. I don't know if, again, I don't want to make accusations, but every time the offense seemed to gain some sort of momentum, a CSU player would go down with an injury. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those were things that were able, and I think the Colorado offense just has to be better about not letting those stoppages halt their momentum, and I think that's what they ended up doing. After the Michael Harrison catch, there was an injury, and I think maybe one more play and then the end of the third quarter. That really slowed things down. That allowed Colorado State's defense to collect themselves, to be more ready and prepared for any sort of goal line formation. And then we kind of made an interesting decision that would have been questioned a lot if we ended up losing, about that field goal instead of going for it.
Yeah.
But, obviously that'll be forgotten, but it has to be something to note. Sometimes I think for a large portion of that game, the offense was very passive.
Yeah.
It needed some sort of aggression. Obviously, I think the energy kind of got sucked out of I kept getting sucked out of the stadium with like Travis Hunter's injury, the touchdowns, and the lack of real urgency from the Colorado defense. I think that was something that we struggled with, at least to gain energy on offense and to ramp up that aggression, because there was a lot of checkdowns and the run game still wasn't really there. It says Edwards had 10 carries, 57 yards, but a lot of that was padded by a long run at the end of regulation. And I think overall the offense just has to be better at sustaining that level of aggression.
Yeah,
because it works.
I feel like CSU obviously knew this, because we don't want to say the accusations of fake injuries, but I mean, when you see Muhammad Kamara go down twice, and this man has...
It wasn't twice. It was at least 3 or 4 times, and the only thing that ejected him was... the only thing that got him out of that game was a targeting.
Yeah, a targeting in overtime. So, like, I don't know. If a man is able to go down that many times, like, we wish him the best of health. You never want to see a player go down. But, you don't want those accusations, but it does raise suspicion when every big play that Colorado makes, there's a player down, and it happens to be somehow the same player that is also making a lot of big plays and plays that ends up playing the rest of the game, and then gets ejected for a targeting hit. Yeah. That's a lot of variables that come together. Now,
I will say he played a great game.
Yeah,
but the fact that he had those injuries, it wasn't. There may be a couple more that I don't know if I. And I think the crowd kind of noticed that too, because there were times towards the end where they were booing.
And they were booing, and that's something that you don't want to see. But I mean, it was so egregious and so obvious what CSU was trying to do that the boos are almost justified. There is no talk about it on Twitter. Anytime a player goes down injured and there are boos from the opposing crowd, that is one of the biggest mess ups that an opposing crowd can do. That automatically ruins the reputation of your crowd. But no one cared because everyone was like, "Oh, well, CSU, another injury that went down."
It's a rivalry.
Yeah, and so I don't know. That whole part was huge by CSU and stopping the game. But that just leads me to Colorado State's Colorado keeping their fast pace, because that's what stood out to me in their game against TCU is running that no huddle offense on those first few drives of the game, and they went out and they punched TCU in the mouth, because even on that first drive of that TCU game, they get a first down, it's close, they run up to the line, they snap that ball, make sure that call can't be reversed, but not only that. They catch a player for TCU running off the field, so it's 12 players on the field for TCU. And so TCU was caught off guard by this fast-paced offense, and CSU and I think Nebraska last week, and teams going forward are all tried and are going to keep trying these antics to try and slow down this offense, whether it's fake injuries.
I don't know if it was that.
I don't
know if that was all that, because I do think the offense still has to be better. Overall, you can't just, like I said, you can't let those kind of stops and momentum completely ruin your offense. Because if a play isn't going to work, if all the defenders are at full energy, it's still a bad play.
Yeah.
You shouldn't rely so heavily on fatigue. Obviously, I think you saw a lot of that in the Nebraska game. You saw that Nebraska defense come out and look really good in the first half, and then just kind of get fatigued and allow Colorado to score easily in the second half. But overall, the offense has to be better, more consistent, and the defense, that's going to be rough with 2 juggernauts of offenses coming up in Oregon and USC.
And no Travis Hunter.
Yeah, no Travis Hunter at the corner.
Because I would need to watch back. I would need to look at the stats on it. But I wonder, I forget who came in. For Travis,
I think it was. I know Marion Cooper is now basically our cornerback 1.
Yeah,
at least for the next 3 to 4 weeks as we wait on his. Wait on his recovery.
But it is interesting. I wonder how many targets were at that side of the field that Travis usually plays on.
Yeah. I know Cooper gave up a touchdown. I know he ended up on Horton, and Horton, for the most part, he was going underneath over the middle. So maybe it's not all on our corners, but I know Silman Craig will probably stay in the slot. I know Breedlove was in at points.
Oh yeah, he had 5 total tackles, and a tackle for loss actually.
Breedlove played decent, but I think overall our secondary and our linebackers have to kind of. I don't know if it was more scheme, because I noticed we played a lot of the same defensive formations, 2 safeties over the top, and kind of just allowing those big gaps over the middle to open up in those zones. Maybe playing some more cover 2, cover 4 kind of stuff. But I think maybe to mix things up, maybe send a little more blitzing. Maybe playing more cover 3, kind of cover up the middle of the field. Obviously, Bo Nix and Caleb Williams are going to be able to pick those up and make those adjustments. So I think maybe it's more about personnel and stepping up in your own role. So I think overall the defense has to get better quick if we're gonna have any chance against Oregon. Because I mean, Oregon looks really good. They're number 3 in the whole nation in total offense, but I think they're beatable. I wouldn't say every style of play can beat them, but we saw Texas Tech have them kind of on the ropes, going into the fourth. They were leading on the Ducks heading into the fourth quarter. So I think if we kind of look at that film and kind of exploit things there, then we could really, I think, especially in the defensive end, make some improvements.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I think the biggest thing for Colorado for the game against Oregon will be about their offense and how much they can produce. Because even though the defense, like, I don't know, the defense versus CSU, that was
rough. I would say rough.
Yeah, that was rough. But like the defense versus Nebraska was great. Obviously, Nebraska offense is kind of sorry, but
right, and we have those bright spots.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to highlight, because this defense, I believe Colorado's leading the nation in turnovers with 10.
Yeah, I saw
10 forced turnovers. And so I don't know. Obviously, Nebraska gave like Jeff Sims gave
right.
Colorado 2 fumbles.
But this was a really competent offense. This wasn't Nebraska. This was like they showed for a lot of this game that they could play, but we were still able to make plays in spite of that. Like Selman Craig had a second straight game with a pick. Obviously, Shiloh forced the fumble and got a pick 6 of his own.
Speaking of forced fumbles, I just want to highlight Jace Feely had a forced fumble on
Jace Feely
on a kickoff. Yeah,
it was him.
Yeah, it was Jace Feely
I had no
that
idea.
laid the hit. That was.
Wow.
I just wanted to mention that. I want to make sure you got recognition.
Earning that dog symbol on his jersey.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I just wanted to point that out.
I have no idea.
But yeah, no, going for the game plan against Oregon. Like I said, like Colorado is leading the nation in turnovers with their defense, but I don't know if I don't think Oregon has a turnover, or they have one. I think
they only have 1 turnover all year.
They might have either 1 turnover or 0 turn. I think they have 0 turnovers on the whole season, if I'm not mistaken, because Bo Nix has 0 interceptions. And I'm trying to look for fumbles, real quick, but they had 0 fumbles against Texas Tech, Hawaii, and I forget who when they played. I think it was Portland State.
Portland State, they beat 81-7. If they can put up 81, like they're an offense to be reckoned with. I know maybe some of those stats are, it's early season.
Yeah,
they're playing teams that aren't really much like Texas. This isn't some really good Texas Tech team, but Texas Tech played well, and they at least for the first 3 quarters had Oregon State where they wanted them. They were winning, and so again, like if we can kind of see what they did right against that Oregon offense, obviously it's going to be tough to stop. But again, if we can make plays, if the secondary can step up, at least who comes in for Travis, I think we can be okay. I don't know if we can hold them to under 30 or like go long stretches of the game shutting them out or stuff like that. But we have players that have shown a lot of potential.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
like it's a worry though for me, cuz like I'm not too worried about the offense without Travis because of how good our receivers are besides him. Horn, Weaver especially. Weaver again was 2 yards away from having his first 3 games of the season over 100 yards.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's why I think offense will be the biggest part of this Oregon game, because they have the tools. Travis Hunter's departure will not affect them as much on the offensive side of the ball as the defensive side of the ball, as you said. But I mentioned those turnovers and Colorado leading in turnovers and Oregon not having any turnovers on a season, because if Oregon is able to protect that ball, now there's a little bit of I don't know. Obviously, there was a touchdown score last game due to just off a turnover. Mm-hmm. You look at turnovers in prior games; those led to those were big moments that either led to scores or, obviously they stopped the opponent from scoring. But, you look at that Travis Hunter interception and that Trevor Woods interception against TCU. Those are both at the goal line. Like, these interceptions, these forced fumbles have come at prevalent times. There was a fumble in the Nebraska game that was in Nebraska's red zone. So these turnovers have really helped Colorado turn these games around and win these games. And so with Oregon not having turned the ball over, if Colorado isn't able to do that on defense, then in my opinion, it would be all about their offense and just honestly making this game a shootout and just making sure they find that production.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's going to be tough for the defense to stop them. Oregon has allowed 1 sack for 3 games.
Yeah.
1 sack is insane. And obviously the pass rush isn't where you want it yet. You don't really have any big reinforcements coming for the pass rush. You thought we could have been seeing Cormani in the secondary. I know Brendan Gant, Florida State, he'll come in at linebacker, which will be important. I saw that he was just about ready. But Cormani, Coach Prime said in the press conference today that he isn't ready yet. He still isn't ready, even though he's a freshman. And now I'm seeing people talk about already that he's going to just transfer away. So I don't know. A little bit worrying. At least with that. So I did look at the turnover thing. They don't have a turnover yet. They've fumbled twice, but they've recovered both of them. And I think just in terms of like stopping them on defense, they're an over 50% third down team. Extremely efficient. It seems like they like to run the ball. A lot of rushing first downs. Some of the stats may be a little inflated because from the Portland State game where they put up 81.
Yeah, and even that Hawaii game. 55.
55. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. They moved up to a top 10 team in the nation. We dropped down a spot just because we won. A win is a win, but it wasn't very impressive. Yeah. At least in my eyes. It was emotional and it was dramatic and it was entertaining to say the least.
Yeah. Really the only impressive part was the fact that they were, able to get punched in the mouth over and over and over and over again and still win that game.
Right.
That's really the only impressive part. But outside
the 98-yard drive, I think that was the most impressive. Obviously, Shedeur firmly in the Heisman talks. But you're gonna need to at least be competitive in these games for the hype to continue. The Shedeur, talks of possibly being a top 5, top 10 pick in whatever NFL draft he chooses. You're going to need to at least be competitive in this Oregon game. You're going to need to turn it into kind of a shootout.
You just need to put up points on the board.
Yeah, and the USC game, oh my Lord, that is going to be an unbelievable. That's why I was another, not just the fact that Travis will be out and he's actually hurt and he's going to miss this time, but this the USC game specifically.
Yeah.
He needs to be on that game for it to be good TV. Now, I'm not saying we're going to lose without him. I don't know. I don't know if we had like a better chance to win with him. But I'd say we have a better chance, but I don't know if we would still win with him.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Well, it's just the fact that, he is just such a... he's the face of college football at the moment, as far as a player. Obviously, if you had to pick a person, it'd probably be Coach Prime. But as a player, he's the face of college football. And so for him to not be in these magnitude of games is insane from Colorado's standpoint, as far as not having your best player, not having one of the best players in the nation. From opponent's standpoint, they're of course very thankful that they can throw the ball to their best receiver now.
Yeah,
and then on top of that, you look at the whole media standpoint. You want, of course, the NCAA, Fox, ESPN. Everyone in the whole entire nation wants to watch Travis Hunter play. They know that's going to bring in money. They know that's going to make good football games, especially when he's making plays like he has this season. And so for him to not be here is just not to be on the field. Not be here sounds like something worse happened.
No, he's there. He's good. He's all good.
He is with us.
The liver heals itself, thankfully. So it's not. That injury could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, no, it definitely could have been. But yeah. So I don't know. Obviously, Travis is a big loss. So yeah, we both seem to be in agreement that the offense needs to put up a lot of points in this game against Oregon.
I think they have the capability to. I don't know if
I think they have the capability to do so as well.
So I'm looking at it, and they're playing these not so good teams, but they still have 25 penalties through 3 games. They average 73 yards a game. So if their defense can kind of do the sort of things or offense on both sides can do what Colorado State did, kind of shoot themselves in the foot, kind of have those penalties at critical times. Obviously, with Colorado's tempo offense, we could maybe force a little bit more than 73 penalty yards. Obviously, we forced 187 this past game. But, yeah, I think we have a chance. I know we do our little score prediction thing.
Yeah, I just want to talk on that.
We'll get to that later.
I want to talk on the penalty thing real quick. Well, we can get to the predictions right now, but because we're running short on time. But Oregon is 115th in the nation as far as least penalty yards.
Yeah, that's not
per
great.
game out of 130. Surprisingly, at 130, or I guess tied for 129, is Colorado State.
Oh.
But
so what a shocker.
Yeah, this is actually kind of funny to look at because they have 21 penalties through 2 games.
Yeah.
And in this game against Colorado, they had 17.
Damn.
Like that is wild.
And I was like, just me watching it, being up in the radio booth, there were so many times where I would just lose my marbles, like especially the Jimmy Horn touchdown. But at those penalties, I'm like, oh, this is the story of the game. I was really emphasizing, like, it could have been way worse, but it was actually a decision on a penalty by us that led to that changed the game completely, because if CSU had declined a roughing the snapper penalty on a field goal.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this.
On the first, or maybe it was their second drive of the game. The 80-yard pick six by Shiloh would have never happened.
Yeah.
It was on the very next play after that. Or maybe one of the plays after
I think it was the second play afterwards, because Shiloh, he
almost got a pick.
He had that interception, but then they ruled Braden Fowler Nicolosi down.
Yeah.
And then the very next play, then we have that pick six. So I mean, that is a very interesting string of events right there. From declining that call to barely getting saved by just barely being down, and then realizing that all those little breaks that CSU got actually led to something a whole lot worse than they could have imagined. Instead of having 3 points, they had -6. So yeah, but
it's just wild that like we're 3-0.
Yeah,
just the fact that we're 3-0, we can go into these games. Even if we do drop both of them, we have somewhat easier games on the horizon after that with Arizona State. You have a winnable game against Stanford. I'd say Arizona, and you just win those games that maybe at least at this point you're supposed to win. Arizona State, Stanford, Arizona, and you're in a bowl game. So Coach Prime has put this program in such a good direction that even if we're not a national title team this year, we're already so far ahead of how so many people projected that we're going to get deeper with these recruiting classes. We're going to get more high-level talent. Obviously, Bryce Underwood attended the CSU game.
Yeah, he was in the press conference room after the game.
Yeah, number 1 recruit of 2025, possibly the quarterback to step in after Shador departs for the NFL. I know there was a really highly ranked offensive tackle I know that visited recently and has us on our radar. I forget his name, but I could. I
don't know. There's so many. There's so many.
There's
players.
so many. It's hard to keep up with.
And across multiple sports too. Like I know we talked. Like it was more so in the Nebraska game with the basketball recruits. But I mean, still, like the amount of people that are on the Colorado sidelines for all these home games is absolutely wild.
And just the excitement and the optimism, despite, we were supposed to win this game by a lot more than we did, and it was a lot more suspenseful than many people thought. But I think the most important part is just that the excitement is back in the program, that the rejuvenation is back, that all these storylines are centering around us of all schools. Like, usually at this time of year, college football wouldn't have too many storylines going on. It would just be, Georgia's good, Alabama's good, big surprise. But the fact that we're able to become essentially the center and the center of change in college football, and like if you tell the story of college football in 50 years and you start talking about NIL, you start talking about the transfer portal, you start talking about when things started to change from the old school ways, I would imagine Coach Prime is right at the top of the list in that story.
Yeah, because I don't know, everyone talks about the Prime era for Colorado, but I mean the Prime era is, that's a college football era.
Yeah.
As you're saying, and so yeah, no, to be in the middle of it is crazy.
And we're just 3 games in. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, no, it's just absolutely wild. And obviously, the NFL is going to get exposure night in, night out, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. But Colorado is the biggest team in football, which is the biggest sport in America. And so to just be a part of pretty much the biggest team in all of America right now across all sports in a society that values sports so much is just absolutely insane.
I don't know if there's too much we could get on about other sports today.
Yeah.
I know volleyball recently beat Denver pretty comfortably. They did have a nice back-to-back night sequence against CSU and more Rocky Mountain showdowns.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of, the Rocky Mountain showdown was in full swing last week. The volleyball team, they lost at home, but then went to CSU and won.
Right, but both games ended the same way. They won the first 2 sets in the first game at home, then blew the 2-0 lead. But then the same exact thing happened to CSU. They won the first 2 sets at home, and then Colorado State rallied back to win.
Yeah.
So that was pretty special, and we're obviously going to be tracking that all year long.
So the
D1
volleyball
soccer hasn't done much, but they have conference play coming up.
Yeah, so we'll get to soccer in a second. The volleyball team, they're starting Pac-12 play. They play Utah and Stanford, both at home. Utah is 7:00 September 21st, which is this Thursday, and then the 24th is quick math, that would be a Saturday, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So right? No, that's a Sunday.
I didn't quite hear it. But
anyways, that's still Sunday, yeah. So anyway,
Utah
and Stanford on the horizon this upcoming Thursday and Sunday for volleyball as they start Pac-12 play.
Yeah, and soccer starting Pac-12 play, and a big one against UCLA, because now soccer team moved up a little bit in the rankings up to 21 now.
Yeah, because they've won their last 7 games, or their last 7 matches heading into Pac-12 play.
Yeah, and then one more thing I'll hint at. Club baseball this Sunday.
Oh, true.
This Sunday at 12:03, we'll be there to broadcast those games against Wyoming from Scott Carpenter Park. So that'll be fun. The fall season coming up for the Colorado club baseball team, which, for any club sport that doesn't really feel like a club sport, it would be that, because, they were in the World Series, the NCBA World Series, just this past year. And so a lot of just excitement all around with all these sports teams. It's just unbelievable that I get to be right in the middle of it.
Yeah, no. So crazy, bro. Like, just insane. So we got, so volleyball Thursday, soccer Friday, football Saturday, volleyball again Sunday, club sports coming up, unless there's more.
No, I was just going to say football's on ABC.
Oh, yeah.
At 1:30 Mountain Time.
Yeah, and so that will be at Oregon, so unfortunately no home game again this week.
But in 2 weeks,
USC.
It could be the biggest one of the year. It could be a game of the year kind of candidate for all of the whole year for college football. Hopefully, we'll our offense will be in a good place to compete with Caleb Williams and co. Because this USC team's really different. I think their defense is improved. Their offense is obviously the same, even without Jordan Addison, who was their top receiver last year. But I think
cooking for my fantasy team. I'll tell you that much.
Me too.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, those USC guys, they don't mess around. And I think, hopefully, I saw Alton McCaskill. And one more thing I'll add about our team specifically. Alton McCaskill on the way. I saw that he was ready to possibly aid that running game. Big time transfer from Houston. So I'm ready to see him, what he can do for that offensive, the run game and the offense in general, which has kind of been lacking that kind of reliable guy to just hand the ball to get used to those crucial yards.
Because I think that like also kind of hurts. I mean, that definitely hurts the offense as well, not having that running game. Because then that also bleeds into the passing game, not having as much success. But either way, we'll get into that more next week. After this Oregon game, we'll see how that run game goes, how that game together goes. We'll be back next week, talk about that game, talk about previewing the USC game, and we'll probably talk about soccer and volleyball a whole lot more as they start Pac-12 play.
Yeah, that'll be great.
And get into the season. So
score prediction.
Score prediction.
We almost forgot.
Yeah, almost did. So we'll start with you.
Since I probably won't be there for the pregame show once again, but this is tough. This is tough because I could see it being a shootout. I could see our offense completely struggling, but I could also see us like I think both teams are going to score 30. Like I don't see any reality where unless where it's like 28 or whatever. Yeah. But more than likely our teams are going to score 30 points. Both teams are. So if I had to guess, I am going to say 37 to 34. Colorado gets it done.
All right. I like that. I'm gonna keep my score prediction until the preview, so you guys will just have to wait until then, unfortunately.
Wait, Alejandro Mata, game-winning kick. There you go.
Okay, I like that one too.
Mata don't miss.
Mata don't miss. That's the boy right there. He representing Jackson State well. But yeah, no, that's the end of episode 3. Of the Scope Up SportsCast.
You don't have one yet? You're saving it for the preview?
No. I want to mull over on it. I want to mull over this. I want to have it right because my first 2 weeks I was money. This week I believe my score prediction was 54-23.
Okay, so you at least had them scoring some points.
I was the closest one. I was the closest one between me, Milena, and Jared. I forget what your prediction was.
It was 41-17.
Okay, so I was the closest still, but. Still, you
still said they had no chance to win, and they definitely played better than everyone thought.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anyways, I need to mull over my prediction for this CU Oregon game. I need to find some numbers that look right. But I guess since I haven't been wrong all year, I will say that Colorado is going to win this game.
All right.
We'll see. It's risky. Obviously, Oregon has the favor. Is favored in this match very heavily. I mean, so is TCU, and
you can edit. Wait, can you edit this part out? I think the computer just went out.
Oh no, it's fine. That's
That's fine.
Yeah,
okay.
It's not going through.
Now we will pause and resume.
So
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Sorry to make your editing process harder.
Nah, it's fine. That was like a 2-second edit. I'm not even sure if I'll take that out. All right.
Sorry.
Nah. Well. All right. Anyways. That's the end of episode 3 for our Scope Up Sportscast. I'm Oliver Hayes.
I'm Harrison Simeon.
And we're here for Scope Up Sports. You heard it here first. Peace.